All right, welcome everyone. I am Michael Everard, and I am presenting another installment of the Science and Spirituality series that I am posting in my Facebook group called Sight, Sound, Spirit. And this is my second chat with Kelly Parker, and I wanted to let Kelly go ahead and just reintroduce yourself, just in case anybody that is seeing this is seeing you for the first time. So give us a little bit of background on you, please.
Okay, so I've always been a highly spiritual being and have traversed my way through pretty well every religion that I could find. And also a lot of mythology and ancient scripture. And I've been told by many that I'm a scribe. I think that we all are or can be. I believe that the human being as it stands is an unlimited source. And so it's really what you want to grasp in life as to how broad your informational data bank would be. So that sort of sums up me really quickly. I've from the start of my existence, I have always been intrigued by the soul. And to my knowledge, thus far, the eyes are the window to the soul. So however much the body will change in our existence, the eye stays the same. So when I meet with individuals, generally speaking, the eye tells me all I need to know. So it's really cool.
Yeah, the eyes have it.
Yeah, they do. The eyes have got it.
Awesome. For those that don't know me, I am Michael Everard. I am a philosopher. I am a teacher. I am a writer. I love science. I love learning about different religions. I love basically gathering information, processing it to a point of where I understand it. And when I know that I know, it's because of how peaceful I feel. And it's just a joy to share that information from my own perspective, based upon my own interpretations, because of my ability to maintain a certain belief or an idea long enough for me to sort of become one with it. And that's sort of just a basic description of where I'm coming from. And I'm currently very intrigued, and have been for maybe 2 years now, with what consciousness is and how feelings are the most effective form of communication in the universe. So with that, Kelly, what is it that we're going to talk about today?
Well, I sort of, I got up this morning with this, like I was all like ready. And then as we know, through our spiritual journey, you have denser days and you have lighter days. Today has presented as being somewhat chaotic, and, them's the breaks, as we know. I guess I'd like to sort of touch in on art and how art therapy can actually be beneficial in our spiritual journey. So if you're happy to have a chat about that, like another topic, I figure.
That's great.
So as you well know, by if anyone that's looked at my profile, I'm an avid artist, both a poet and a painter and such. And I have used over the last 10 years, I've used art therapy and artistic expression as varying part of my modalities when I work with individuals. And I have found it to be an amazing tool for individuals to step into their imagination and to also begin to create. A lot of us as we grow, so, kids, when children start out, they'll come and they'll say, I saw a fairy, or I saw, something that we didn't see. or I had a dream and it was like this, and so on and so forth. As we're conditioned through our existence, we tend to step away from our imagination, so our creation part. And so that became quite evident to me around about 10 years ago, that the bulk of humanity was losing their ability to imagine or to co-create. And so I sat with that and thought, okay, so I know how to meditate. I understand most belief systems. However, I'm still finding some individuals are stuck. And how can we work through that? So me being the little philosopher think tank that I am, sat down and was like, okay, can we not integrate this into our daily routines and, if you will, step into our minds a little more without fear? And so I sat with it for a while, processing how I would do that. And I went into a deep meditation, and I began to just draw with my opposite hand that I would favor, and to allow it to do whatever it felt like it needed to do. So just allowing to guide myself without force, if you will. So sitting in a space where there was no judgment. And when I began, it was like looking at say a 2-year-old's handwriting, you know, when they get a pen and they're like scribbling and they're like, and I was like, okay, so what else is there? So I didn't really push. I just allowed it to flow. And soon enough, I began to even out my left and right side. So I became ambidextrous. And that is to use both your left and right hand, or, left and right side equally. And I noticed that when I drew with my left hand, I was drawing something completely different as opposed to with my right hand, realizing that the hemispheres of our brain would give us different signals, if you will. So if you're predominantly left brain orientated, or if you're predominantly right brain orientated, you would generally, as you access that portion of your brain, you would be drawing a different picture, if you will.
I always forget which one's which. So which side is the logical side?
So your right brain side is your for me, and I'm gathering it's the same for everyone. So if I go right side, I'm very logical, analytical, very precise, calculated, if you will. And if I go left side, it's more of the spiritual, childlike or inner childlike mind state. So I know that people with psychoactive brains tend to use more of their prefrontal lobe, predominantly on the right-hand side. So some people have discussed with me schizophrenia as opposed to a psychoactive brain. To me, it's one and the same thing. It's just an individual who's using more matter than the average individual. So you could talk about any high-functioning individual, say ADHD, autistic, anyone that's on that spectrum, if you will. So some like, as I said, dyslexic, schizophrenic. There's a broad range of labels that we've been given, you could say. And to my knowledge and to my to date, with what I've researched, I believe that it is simply an individual who is accessing more of the grey matter in the mind. Therefore, there are more neurons being fired, so there is a lot more activity in the brain. So going on from that, basically, I started with the Esoteric Encryptions, and I get quite into the esoteric side of things, as you well know. And I predominantly hadn't shared a lot of information that I had regarding these esoteric symbols and their, if you will, decoding or decryption. But I began sharing my esoteric codings with hope that I would find other individuals who had also stepped into that realm, if you will, of consciousness. and we're also coding so as to understand it with more grasp, because as you know, in this life puzzle, I call it, we don't get all the answers. And I believe that with the only way we can have more answers is by communicating, like you said, through emotional communication or physical communication, and grasping that information or wisdom that that individual may or may not have. If they don't, sometimes we fill in gaps for them, so on and so forth. If you don't have it, you may have someone else fill in those pieces for you. So basically I've brought along, I'm sitting here with some of my older, and they're very old, data and encryptions or esoteric codings. Now this was done with the left hand, and I'm hoping that it'll be able to be seen because it's very old, and it doesn't want to show, of course. But basically it is, I really wish it would show, it is what we call a master blueprint, and it is inside us. If you imagine every cell in our body has an esoterical symbol that would align to that cell. So, you know, if you've got your 7 chakras, you would have a major, if you will, sigil or esoteric symbol on each of those chakras, and then deeper within that major signal or sigil, you would have smaller, or if you're thinking like computer, if you have a logo, a sub logo, and a sub logo, or a net, a subnet, a subnet. This is how, to me, they have presented. And so what began as quite basic symbols, slowly, as I tapped in, they became more intense or more extreme in the decryptions and the message that I was receiving from source and from my body or my cells. So basically, the goal was to create a program where individuals could come in, even if they had no information regarding spiritual journey, and they were able to grasp it easily and identify in some degree. So for me, everybody loves art. Everybody. I don't know anyone who doesn't love art. So there's somewhere, you know, some people are very abstract. They'll look at an abstract piece of art and they'll be like, oh my God, I see this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then other people will look at a portrait or a landscape and just be like drawn into that. And they're like, I'm there. So I was like, how can I use this to integrate the spiritual journey, if you will, or even spark the spiritual journey, so as to have human beings who are more aligned in mind, body, and soul. Because as we well know, we are not the mind, we are not the body, but we will forever be the soul. And so integrating, if you will, if you imagine 3 light balls, so one's mind, one's body, one's soul, and we have these light beams or balls that are bouncing in each of those balls, to align those 3 or the Trinity and get those light balls bouncing all together or all together side to side, and allowing that to flow freely, allowing this co-creative, if you will, state of being where you are fully aware of your body's capacity, you're fully aware of your mental capacity, and you are 100% aware of your unique energetic signature. So that being said, if you will, the soul. So then it was add in health, wealth, relationship, self-attention and awareness, and then again, self-attention and awareness to others. So taking it away from myself, because as we go through these journeys, and I will bring this up, I've been divinely guided to. So to be self-centered is different to being self-aware. So a lot of us, as we're going through these journeys, we become somewhat self-centered. So if someone that you're speaking with in the first minute says I about 6 times or 7 times, that would be, you would be aware that they are on an inward journey and that they are still going through those healing modalities that they have created for themselves. The other one is that everything is a statement instead of a question. So we want to be not only the teacher, but to be the student in this. That is the only way we're going to reach, if you will, some people say heaven on earth. Some people say, certain states, the Hindi, they use a different term. The Buddha, they use a different term also. And also if they're interrupting the story that you are speaking on. So if they're constantly like, you're halfway through a conversation and they're like, hey, listen to me. So this is someone now, and instead of being judgmental when you come across individuals like that, because they do all have a story to tell. And I say unsolved or unfinished business is one of the reasons that we exist. So if you say you came last time in your lifetime and you had a story to tell about truth, but you didn't get to tell it for whatever reason, you may come across when you're first entering into that inward journey as being self-centered. I know I did, speaking from observation as well as also an individual standpoint. So my best way for that was to establish guidelines, if you will, on how to bring yourself inward first, and then to be open enough to express that in an outward journey, and also to be able to hold space and observe for others their story. And so that's it seems easy. You say it and you think, oh, that's easy. It's actually really not. So I came up with the 7 R's, which is return, remember, release, realign, retain, and reanimate, and then back to the return. So this is, for me, this is how our life cycle, if you will, sort of happens. And then you have like attention, awareness, accountability, acceptance, alignment. So 7 A's. So you'll run through that as well. So these were basic ways that I could, if you will, assist others in journeying inward. So not so much outward, but inward. I believe that human beings as a whole have journeyed outward lots, like heaps and heaps. And we're constantly looking outside for information. It's like we're grabbing for this information constantly, like a sponge, if you will, grabbing, like water as we're coming along, it's like drawn to us. Where I found the most information and the most balance in my journey was when I stopped seeking outside and I went completely inside. So no external information, just I don't want anything from outside right now. I need what is in here. And when I sat with that, that was when the art therapy, if you will, became really beneficial. So basically, I sat myself in a quiet area with maybe some calming music, and I just allowed it to flow. So I didn't fight my inner urge to cry, scream, yell, whatever it was, I allowed it to just be. And to be present and observe myself. So if you can imagine that you are like a third person, really watching yourself, hearing yourself, focusing on every single little thing that is coming from inside, even your breath. So when you're breathing in, you're taking in information, and when you're breathing out, you're releasing anything that is negative or non-serving to your cells that you exist. Mm-hmm. And so that came about, and then I was like, I want to tell people what I found. I want to tell people about this, and how do I do that without seeming, too eccentric that they couldn't grasp it, because that happens.
Right.
Or without seeming egocentrical, so very egoic in, oh my God, I found the key. I found it. Like, oh my God, listen to me. Mine's the only way. I didn't want that to be the case, because I had seen that and I had observed that. Mm-hmm. And so over eons, I had observed that once someone grasped the Christ alignment and then grasped the source alignment, that the egoic self instantly went like real big, like, wow, I'm God and I know everything and you have to go my way or no way. And I was like, that's not how it's supposed to be. So I sat with that and I was like, okay, so what role? I remember it being in meetings and like Zoom conferences. There was a global one where there was hundreds of us, and just observing and at the same time journeying myself. But I observed that it was a place that everyone sort of got stuck in this egoic self or judgmental self, and so and that my way or the highway pretty well. And I was like, if I can just soften that, I know that they can step beyond that. And then there's this openness without judgment. We still obviously have discernment, what resonates with us, you know, like each individual, knowledge that some of us are from different tribal areas, if you will. So maybe a culturalistic background might resonate a bit more with one individual, or a scientific, whatever it might be. You know, I say the isms, ities, icks, and like all of them, they're just labels. Okay, so if you can take away
stuff.
Yeah, all of them. So if you can just use your discernment, but not really grasp them as the be all and end all. You know what I mean? Like, so it's really about being so open that nothing will phase you. Like, you don't go, oh my God, like this. And that your way, however beneficial for yourself it has been, may not be the way of someone else. And that's okay. But if you share it, in sharing your way, it allows a broader perception of what is. So like, even when I've listened to you, Michael, and you have done some amazing work, I find you like to be super intriguing, and like, you can tell you've really worked hard to grasp and hold that wisdom that you have. And I found you to be very open, very honest, and very accepting of all the things I've watched you with. And there was no heavy judgment. There may have been discernment. Okay, so like, I haven't done that and I don't really get it. But like, there was no judgment in that. It was like, okay, so that's how it is. So for me, when I was looking for these individuals that I could share this with, I really looked for openness in it, and also transparency, if you will. So to be completely transparent. So I'm having a shit day. So what? Like, it's not the end of the world. Everyone does, yeah? Or I'm having an amazing day and I don't know what to do with this energy. Like, I have so much energy, I have no idea what to do with it. Right. And so the individuals that came with me, I'll talk you through yesterday for me, because it was a really cool day. So we've got a couple of individuals in our neighborhood that are a little under the weather with a virus, if you will. It's not COVID, but it is a virus. And they were sort of, you know, not feeling the best. So I sit down and I put my music on and I'm like, hand everyone a piece of paper. And they're like, I don't know what to draw. I'm like, don't overthink it. Like, don't overthink it. Just sit with me. So we sit down, and I'll actually share the pictures. 2 seconds, I'll go grab them. They're really cool. This is me.
What I can say while you're out off camera getting the pictures, it came to me while you were speaking about this art therapy. What I seem to have recognized as far as the science aspect of what art therapy can do is that it's psychological. So there is the science of human behavior, which is psychology. And
yes.
I just thought of that. I just thought of that. Actually, I thought about it a while ago, but I figured while you were getting your stuff would be a good time for me to interject.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So let's see the pictures.
Right. So I have so my children, as you know, so when I asked my son's girlfriend to begin drawing, she was like, I don't know what to draw. And then so she started off, I said, think of yourself. And so hopefully this is going to transmute well.
I see it. Good.
So
good.
now
Good.
that tells me, yep. So now that tells me from someone from an outside standpoint that she has been through a lot of trauma with the mirror being broken, and that there's still some self-love to be gained. So there's this like reflection of herself that she doesn't want to see her head, she doesn't want to see her legs. She's standing in the mirror's broken, and she's piecing that back together. So that's what that told me. She then drew this, and she said to me that it's a jellyfish.
Awesome.
But it actually goes deeper than that. So if you can see, there's a little angel up here, and then there's like an earth down here.
Oh, wow.
And then there's this. Yeah. So if you look at it separately outside of that, you would see maybe a UFO, earth, and an angel.
Yeah.
Right.
I love it.
So going further on from that, we have this one here.
Oh, wow.
So stepping into, again, outside of his physical human form, and seeing maybe a being that you may or may not have been in another lifetime timeline, or even in this timeline, because we, as I said, with the quantum entanglement that we're experiencing now, there is this these layers, if you will, of consciousness that we tap into. Going further,
archetypes, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So going further, there's another one that was done, and that is very much like the Lake of Souls, if you will, and moving through that. Another one that was done, and this is very abstract.
Oh, wow.
So it's like the three conscious dimensions, if you will. So, you're in this lifetime here, and then you've got another one and another one. So I sat and I drew, and it's not finished, but I drew this.
Nice.
And so, yes, that will be one of the ones that I finish off. So it goes to show the broadness, if you will, and the depth at which you can explore yourself freely without judgment. So no one has to see your pictures. You might just start drawing and you don't want to show anyone. Other times you'll be like, oh my God, look at this. It really meant something, and you'll start to share it. I've been obviously coding for quite some time, so I have like a bazillion of them. And I thought about it, and I thought, how beneficial could this actually be for humanity if it was something as simple as us tapping into our artistic self? So someone said, you're autistic. I say I'm artistic. So
I love it. Yes, I love it.
And so when we look at the polarity that we exist in, if you will, the three-dimensional form can be quite dense. So when we're stepping into ourselves, the idea is to make it as light. So taking away that density and really being able to tap into that conscious self that you have that is naturally drawn to beauty, sound, symphonies, like all those things that we maybe overlook in our 9 to 5, if you will. So like, you're working, you're doing your 9 to 5, and you get up in the morning, you've got a routine. It's very structured, like get up, you do this, you go to work, come home, you do this. So stepping someone out of that, even if it's only for a short period, so say maybe an hour, it allows them to come inside and to feel into their cellular structure, access into the mind, and then to go one above accessing the mind, because anyone can access the mind, but to go one above from the mind and to access the soul signature. And what is your soul telling you today? What does your soul need today? So outside we have our body needs. Yeah, We have our informational needs, so our mind, so just to function, if you will, as well. But then most don't go, what does my soul need? What does my spirit need? So for me, art is a massive, massive, massive part of that. And so some of these that I've done, as you can see, I drew that about 8 years ago. And you can see there's a mask on that individual.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're remote viewing, if you will, so stepping into our soul consciousness, that is unlimited. And so your information you could grasp, like I said, 8 years ago, I drew that.
Prophetic.
Very much so. And I have them all over my walls, and I sort of try, I drew Squid Games before Squid Games was a thing. So it's ironic how we see it. So people say, do you see or do you dream? Not specifically, I don't, because I tend to channel my dreams into artwork rather than, so I'll wake up and instantaneously it's like grab a pen, grab a paper, I draw it. And that's what I'm seeing. And so I did some little games along the way, if you will. This one here, it's very old. And it says on it, it says coded dates, layers and grids, enticing to catch up. One grid hidden. Can you encode, upload, and analysis incomplete? So that was like, can you encode? Step up to developer and transfer specialist, decode this. So I was literally like enticing others to decode my work. So like, come on, can you do it? So that's what it was. And so each of us with this artistic expression, if you will go on another, it's like another whole journey. So I'd done all my spiritual work, really aligned, like, so all my chakras were open. I was able to sit in meditative state very easily. You could nearly say I had a constant source connection. And then I was like, how do I go one more? Like, how do I go one more from there? Like more information, because I, like you, I'm a sponge, and I'm like, give it.
Right.
So I got to that point where people would say, you've reached the God state, if you will. And I was like, there's so much more information. How can I bring it here? Again, tapping into my ancestral lines. I remembered cave drawings. I remembered pyramid drawings. And I was like, let's bring it out again. Let's do it again. So I began posting online these like scribe work that I had done. And I think it was about 12 months I did that. And I was looking for anyone that was doing it. I was like, someone else, surely there's someone else doing this, you know, feel like a bit of a weirdo. All of a sudden, bang, people started coding, started encrypting, started writing things down, started drawing. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is phenomenal. And so going back to the meeting that I had with the kids yesterday, or session, if you will, and neighbors, seeing the growth in those individuals in such a short period of time, with their cellular structure, with their mental balance, high functioning individuals tend to struggle with structure because we don't, you know, we'll grab one thing and we'll go for another to another to another. So I found that with everyone that I've worked with, after doing a deep session of the artistic expression, a meditation session, and sitting with themselves, I see them instantly lose addiction. I see them functioning more healthy in their body, listening to what their body needs rather than just eating 3 times a day because that was what they were taught. They will go from, some of them will go from eating 3 times a day to eating once a day or 10 times a day, depending on their cellular structure and what they need. I also see that their food intake changes, so they're not seeking for preservatives, sugars, things like that. They really come back to that original dietary supplements that they would be seeking because they're listening to their soul and their cellular structure. So that for me has been a massive part of my journey. And I believe if I can say anything to anyone, step into yourself and express it however it might be, whether you paint, draw, make things with wood, like whatever it is, like, because everyone's different. Some it's like Lego, some it's like painting, some, you know, whatever it is, whatever you're artistically drawn to, get doing it. Because for me, it has been one of the biggest parts in my spiritual journey and in my life journey, to be able to not only express my story without vocalization, but to also share the wisdom of the universe as we know it. And I believe that as we do that, it's like puzzle pieces that would come together, creating this beautiful symphony, which gives us all the information we require. So yeah, I don't know how artistic you are, bro, but if you haven't yet, definitely get out the left hand or the opposite hand, whichever one it might be. Get drawing with both and really just see what comes out, and really have no expectation. So don't go into it like, I'm going to draw this today. Like I grab a bit of paper, blank bit of paper, and I sit and I'm like, it'll be whatever it is. I don't say today I'm going to draw this, or today I'm going to draw that. It is literally just whatever comes out. And there's no judgment. Like, you know, if I draw an alien, or if I draw, you know, I'm not scared. I'm like, oh my God, that's scary. I'm like, it's intriguing. Like, it's intriguing, you know. I can say honestly that any channelings I've done, I've never felt any negative density, if you will. So, you know, people have this fear that, you know, they're doing their spiritual journey, they're going to see demons, they're going to see these, you know, if you will, negative aspects. What I can say is you'll see exactly what is inside you. That's what I would say. So if you're seeing demons, you've got some work to do. If you're seeing, you know, angels, well done, you're doing well. If you're, you know, whatever, if you're seeing encryptions, it may be your cellular structure saying, hey, there's something not right, you need to align that, or you're not using that. And really ask. So after you've drawn it, you know, sit with that and be like, okay, so what does this mean? And you'll instantaneously, your spirit will tell you, and you will get like a download. So when I do, if you will, these prana, which is an esoteric reading of the cellular structure, when I channel that individual, I don't tell them, like I'll give them the picture, but I don't tell them what's in it.
Right.
Because that's for their soul or their spirit to grasp, because it is their personal reading. So I don't need to tell them. I'm mirroring what they're telling me from their body. But the goal is that they'll sit with that, they look at it, and they focus down, and they will then begin to, if you will, pick apart that cellular construction that we have, and really deeply dive into, I have inflammation here, or, you know, I'm shut off here, like, you know, my heart space is closed, or my throat chakra is closed, or whatever it might be, my crown chakra is not functioning properly, you know, it could be millions of things. We have like this security system inside us. I call it like our centrifugal security system. Some of us, you know, some of the nodes are not spinning, so that it won't be like it sort of spins is how I see it. So it wouldn't be spinning. Again, everyone is very, very unique. But I think the biggest thing I want to bring to this, if I can tell anyone anything, is that through whatever form you choose of artistic expression, whether that's singing, dancing, meditation,
they're all valid.
I believe that is one of the most beneficial journeys that you can go on as a human being. And so I'm deeply encouraging not only animal therapy, but also art therapy in your spiritual journey. I believe that it does help to align us. It makes things, like I said, some people are like, I don't want to dream about demons. All right, if you don't want to dream about demons, start drawing it. Start drawing it on paper.
Stop thinking
and let
about
it out. Yeah,
right?
exactly. So
Because
let it out.
what you think about, you bring about.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, and there is a conscious state that I believe we reach where we cease to dream. So we no longer dream because we're actually living the dream. So that's a whole nother story. But if I said to some individuals, it was like this. Questions were, who are you? Do you dream? If so, do you remember your dream? Does it feel like you're living in a dream? And what is your ideal dream? So in our life, the closest that I believe we get to our source is when this body is in a stasis-like or sleep state. So that could be comatose, it could be dead physically, it could be sleeping. But when we are at rest, the physical body is when we channel deepest to our source energy. So if you're dreaming, chances are you're not actually living your dream. When you stop dreaming, you are then, if you will, living the dream. So everyone says, chase your dreams, 100% chase your dreams, because eventually you begin living those dreams. So we talk of manifestation, very similar. So if you're still in dreamlike state, you may not be living your ultimate life, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
If you are no longer dreaming, that would mean then that you are walking the dream. So if you speak about the Aboriginals believe about the dreamland, and that comes as part of your journey. So you're like in normal, then you're in dreamland, and then you're in like your heaven pretty well. So right. Most of us are what we would call dream walkers, but there are some of us who are not. Some of us have either eventuated from one part or to the other. Currently, I don't dream. I have no dreams. The only thing I do is I prophetically, if you will, draw my visions. I don't actually dream. And so I used to. So I'm not like immune to that. Like I used to dream.
Right.
I used to have nightmares. I always said, dreams take me to places I want to be. Nightmares take me places far away, you know. And so yeah, there's that. So as we go through that and you channel in, you begin to wake up, you become, more aware of your visual standing, you become more aware of your spiritual standing, and we balance out through that, eventually getting to the point where we are aligned and balanced. So as we know, when we're going through these transitional states, there can be distortion or static variability, and that may show both visually or physically or spiritually in these individuals. So for me, Michael, when I'm observing any interaction that we have, I'm 100% aware of, one, the physical capacity of that individual, and two, the spiritual capacity of that individual and where they're at. Mm-hmm. So when I'm watching you and like now, if we have a distortion in the field, that would become very evident as regards, one, the telecommunication that we're able to both witness here. So it's actually allowed us to see more than we would normally see. So imagine 1500 years ago, we didn't have screens that could capture some of the beautiful sights that we've seen in the skies. and these beautiful interactions that we have with these beings as we're transferring this beautiful information and balance to each other. So it's a really beautiful existence. I'm grateful to be here, is what I would say, and to be able to witness this in this here and now, and to be able to express my perception, whether that be from a scientific standpoint or from a spiritual standpoint. I believe that all information is valid and helps us to, if you will, grasp the knowledge of the universe and as we sit in this now. So you can talk now for a bit because I talk too much.
That's no, you didn't talk. You spoke exactly to the points that you were making, and everything you said made perfect sense. While you were talking, I was thinking about a few things. I was thinking about, both of my hemispheres. I've always been very balanced. I've gone through periods of my life where I've been more right-brained or more left-brained.
Yeah.
And as a kid, one of the things I used to love doing was drawing. I used to love to draw. And I also enjoyed being creative with Legos and Lincoln Logs and erector sets and different things where I would have to use my logical, in conjunction with the intuitive to sort of, make sense out of my creations. And at the age of 10, I began to play my first instrument, which was cello. And then at the age of 16, I started playing guitar. So my main way of expressing my feelings would have to be playing my guitar. I also love photography. I find that, my ability to sort of capture that moment in time,
I know,
which is timeless. It's like, it's like such a joy.
Yeah,
and
I know.
And I'm finally understanding. I used to not understand when somebody would say, "Oh, a photographer is an artist." It's like, what do you mean they're an artist? They're just taking a camera, they're pointing and they're shooting. It's like,
really
no. They're
dimension, light.
They're creating cool. Yeah, they're creating the image in their mind so that they can capture it and share it with other people. And the other thing, and as I was saying, when you went to go get your drawings, the science aspect of art therapy and the benefits of it have everything to do with psychology. One of the things that our society tends to do is this idea of, oh, you need to control your emotions. Why would you need to control the very thing that you should be letting flow? Now, you can control your thoughts. When people don't realize that they have the power to reorder a new set of thoughts from a different menu, and then to set it on the table in a way that makes sense. You want to start with maybe an appetizer, and then a salad, and then your main course, and then your dessert. So you're telling yourself these stories as you're experiencing reality. And the thing that I did today in the Sight Sound Spirit group was my presentation was called The Power of the Belief System. So everything that you spoke about, your awareness of chakras, for example, does require your ability to believe that that system is real.
Yes.
If you didn't believe it, you would not pay attention to it. So the value of the belief system is the ability to trust that the information that is being provided is to your benefit. And sometimes that information is not visible with with these eyes. It's visible with your inner vision, your third eye, if you will. And it's all just information. It's just there for your benefit. Now, you can either choose to make sense out of the information and you convert the signals. One of the things I'm writing today about more about consciousness. And the original title of the article was going to be, what does consciousness prove? And then I changed it to, what does consciousness know? So science,
beautiful, yeah, perfect.
The scientific community is very determined to prove the existence of something only with physical evidence. So
yes,
seeing is believing.
Parapsychology is so much more fun.
Yeah, I mean, why would you rely on such a small portion of the entire message? How small? I'll tell you how small. We're talking 0.0035% small. That's how much the visible light. The visible light part of the spectrum is that small. So what do you do to access the remaining 99.9965% of the information? Well, you can begin just by using your 5 basic senses. That's what it means to use common sense. It's not any more difficult than that. So if you're in an experience where, for example, you are taking a walk out in the woods and you're enjoying what you see, you're enjoying what you're hearing, maybe you're walking barefooted and you're enjoying what you're feeling, maybe you're eating a snack along the way.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the one sense that maybe you weren't paying attention to clicks on, and you smell something, and then you realize that something's burning. So depending on the intensity of that particular sense, you're going to automatically go into a different level of awareness. Now, if the imminent danger, let's say there's a fire, a forest fire that's occurring, and your instincts are going to kick in, and you're going to know when that happens because of something called the fight or flight response, where your body will naturally release sort of a cocktail of adrenaline, which is epinephrine. You're going to also release endorphins that are basically neurotransmitters that are inhibitors, pain inhibitors. And you're going to become hyper aware. Your spidey senses will be in overdrive, and you're going to then be presented with the option of either running or fighting. So you will know what to do when the time is right. And all of what I just described, as well as everything that you described, are just simply functions of consciousness.
100%. So I think for me, when I realized that we had more than 5 senses, that was like, so at school, we go to school and we're like 5 senses, you can smell, you can see, you can taste, you can touch, you can hear, right? So that was your thing, right? You got them. You're like, okay, so that's how we exist. And then I was like, when I learned that we had like a locational beacon and that we had telecommunication beyond verbal, I was like, how cool is that?
Yeah, sign me up, right?
Yeah, like, where are they and how do they work? Like, like, and then it was like sitting with that and asking myself again, how does this work? So 1, I'm not falling off the globe, so my locational beacon is working well. Like, I'm here, I haven't flown into space, I'm good, right? So I'm well aware of my geolocation, if you will. And then I was like, how do I explain telepathy or telekinesis? And I'm like, human Bluetooth.
I love it.
That was the only way I could describe it. So for me, our esoteric work is like our blueprints. And then our telecommunications is like Bluetooth. So, and we're in a blue planet, as you know. Majoritively is water, and what travels better in water than sound? Nothing. So if you think of it like that we are nothing more than a wavelength evolution. So we is like wavelength evolution. me, metric evolution,
Mhm.
and then us, universal system. So if you think of it like that, you can break it down really simply. I did say that I'm heavily like calculated, and I have a lot of encryption going on. We are the world we exist in is very cryptic, if you will. If you're looking at things from a puzzle standpoint, this existence is very, very cryptic. So if you're able to begin to break down these words, like life is lucid illusion furthering education, and
Love
sound is synchronized ownership using no disguise.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So now, not on that outside point, thinking that someone could manipulate you, but think again that you have full control of any and all sound that you exist in or your cellular structure. So then you are a synchronized ownership using no disguise. So you are literally nothing more than sound and light, and you are using that to convey information in whatever way you may. So, because we have free choice. So,
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought of two things, doesn't it? Excuse me.
yeah, go.
Let me take
Yeah,
let me take a drink of water. Let me take a drink of
You
water.
do that.
One of the things I came up with, and you had earlier in the conversation brought up the topic of the soul. I've done 12 articles about the soul. My first time writing about it, I called it "The Soul is God's Will." And I believe that the soul is basically a communication system. And I also feel like there is a connection, obviously, between the spirit and the soul. And the way I view the soul, I came up with an acronym for that: space of unconditional love.
Yes.
And it just sort of came to me one day, and it makes sense. And the thing that I am sort of constantly being reminded of is anytime I am disturbed,
or in disease, another one.
Yeah. So if you're disturbed, or disease just means you're
not at ease,
uncomfortable. Yeah, you're not at ease. I mean, it's it's a state of physicality, or it's maybe a symptom of too much toxicity in your physical body. All of these things are just ways to better understand why people do the things that they do. So if, for example, and I recently experienced this with someone and had to at least temporarily part ways. What happens sometimes with people is they will make the assumption that they know better than you about you. It's mind-boggling to me. It's like, well, first of all, if you only knew what I know, you would feel differently about yourself, because we're always reflecting each other. We're constantly we first will see pieces of ourselves in other people, and if we don't have to like the behavior to love the person. So you also use the word discernment. So without discernment, we would just like everything and we would never be disturbed. Now, we are here to learn how to love all. I think that's like the prime objective, and that seems to be a challenge for many, which is totally fine, right? What I'm reminded of is that there is a difference between being prejudicial or judgmental and being able to evaluate your own performance. And you do that by contrasting the actions and behaviors of other people against yourself. And this is how we learn. So
Yeah,
if
most definitely. Yeah.
the difference, as I see it, between being, let's say, judgmental is that you are predetermining the value or the worthiness of the person, place, or thing before you actually experience it, because you think that you know how it will feel during the experience. And the only thing you could ever possibly know as a human for absolute certainty, this is another sort of thing that I'm working on that sort of works with quantum mechanics and other things in that realm, is the only thing we can be absolutely certain of in any given moment is how we are currently feeling. So everything else is going to be a belief, and every belief is paradoxical and therefore only partially true. It doesn't mean that it doesn't have value. It just means that you are still learning why that thing exists.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, 100%. I agree, 100% on the same page. Yeah. I think of it like this. So when I first started my journey, I was 7 years old, right? So heavy into a spiritual journey. I was actually struck by lightning, which
Wow.
yeah, literally.
I don't know why I find that I find that humorous, but I can only imagine how. First of all, how old were you when that happened?
I was 7 years old.
Okay, so that was your hello, welcome to the world, right? Now,
yeah, pretty well.
Let me ask you. And I don't know, because I this is the reason why I'm asking. Was that your first memory?
No. So
Okay.
I remember even in utero. So I have audio visual recollection that is like an elephant, I say. And so I remember the warmth of the water, it sort of being pinky red. I remember the hair tie in my mum's hair when I was born, it was pink. I remember the man, he was grey, like grey beard, white coat.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember learning to crawl. I remember learning to walk. I remember.
Okay, so you remember the whole journey then. That's amazing to me. So you were born with those abilities.
Yeah, most definitely. And then so at 7 years old, we lived on a big farm at the bottom of the Brown Mountains with my nana, who was a white witch light worker, and there was an Aboriginal tribe that lived on the farm. And I remember getting up, I think it was about 10 o'clock at night, and going into my nana's room and saying, "Nana, the moon sings to me. I can hear her. She sings to me." And she was like, "Oh my God, you're so young. Like, you're so young. It's time for us to go for a walk." So
did she dismiss what you were saying?
No,
or did
not
she
at all.
embrace it?
Yeah, so she walked me down.
Got it.
Yeah, so she walked me down into the paddock where she had her cauldron, and she called her white horse that she called Angel over, and she sat me at a big red gum tree, and she asked the horse telepathically to lie down in front of me, and she lit the fire under her cauldron, and she began chanting, and a storm came in, and as the storm came in, I heard a rumble. I felt nothing. And then I woke up and I was laying on the horse, and the tree behind me had smashed into smithereens. And as I looked up off the horse, I looked into my nan's eyes, and I heard her say, without moving her mouth, "Oh my God, I've killed her." And I went, "No, I'm okay, Nan." And she was like, because I had heard her thoughts, and I was fine. So I was fine. The horse was fine. I was fine. I felt no pain.
Oh, I was going to
Uh,
ask you, you didn't feel
yeah,
any pain?
no, I felt no pain. I was tingly, like I felt tingly. You know, when you rub your hands like this
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you can feel the tingle, it was like all over me. And then as I journeyed, every 7 years after that, I went through a big shift, is what I want to call them.
You're 7, your magic 7,
Yeah,
yeah?
the sevens. Yeah. And so it became really evident at about 40 who I really was, the information that I retained over eons, and what I came here to do, to you know, to experience or to do. And so again, predominantly, my goal was that people would not forget art or the imagination, and that they would walk in their truths, whatever they may be, and that we would live in a world that was free from judgment, more so that we would only discern what was resonant to us in that timeline, not discounting someone else's perception of their life experiences or experience, if it's only one, if they're maybe, you know, like they've only been the one time. Many of us have reincarnated or reanimated many times, others not so many. And so that was my goal, I guess, ultimately. And so piecing it all together was somewhat a journey, to say the
Yeah,
least.
yeah.
It's been amazing. It's been absolutely beautiful, and everyone's different. Like every single time I've reanimated, it's been different. And every single other time, it's just been amazing. Like I have a memory, past life memory, where I lived to 777 years old.
Wow.
And I was a man. I was not a woman. So yeah. And so this time, you know, if I make it to 77, I'll be going all right, because we're so domesticated now. We've really lost a lot of ways, old ways, if you will, ancestral ways that helped us to maintain the body for a longer period of time. We use so many more preservatives and such now, chemicals, that it is very, very difficult to retain the cellular structure as long as we would have. Let's go back as far as 474 BC. It was quite easy back then to live a life that would now be known as primitive, but a more organic lifestyle, if you will. We have heavily domesticated the human being, and in doing so, not only have we lost senses, but we've also lost the organic way of living. In saying that, though, we have also advanced at a phenomenal rate into what I class as a tachyonic age, where we have an unlimited amount of technology that can assist us in our growth and our journey, and also help us to, if you will, store informational data that would not readily be able to be stored in a visual or audio sense, you know, way back when. So it's cool. It's like, you know, you've got your bittersweet, you know, if you will. It's like chocolate and lemon, like, you know, like, or, you know, you go like milk chocolate and dark chocolate, like bittersweet. So yes, the advancements in technology and infotech, if you will, has been absolutely phenomenal, and has allowed us a lot more insight to some of the things that we're going through in this now moment. However, I do believe that in some way we have lost the organic sense of the human being, and have really heavily domesticated ourselves. So, you know, finding that balance, if you will. Someone said they saw me with some scales on a horse with a sword. And so if we're finding harmonic balance, it would be that. It would be the balance between the infotech that we have, and the organic structure or cellular structure of the human being.
What I was thinking about is, so a lot of people will call, at least leading up to this shift, there's obviously a shift that's occurring. I believe that 2020 will someday be referred to as year zero. And there's some reasons why that I don't want to get into right now. What I also understand is leading up to this new era has been the information age.
Most definitely.
And I think some people may refer to it as the age of Pisces. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah. So we went through Aquarius. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
So are we in the age of Aquarius as we speak?
We've actually moved from it. So we've
moved from it.
Yeah, we've already done that. So to some degree. So if you imagine, like, this is where it gets tricky to explain to individuals, is that all of these ages and timelines now, as far as I know, as of April 23rd, 2020, we merged into, so the quantum entanglement or enmeshment that we had managed to achieve has allowed us to merge into a non-relative time container where all those timelines, so the golden age, the age of Aquarius, the primal age, all of them, all of them, the Iron Age, all of them, they're all coexisting in this one, like, big ball of enmeshment is how I see it. So
I love that word. I love that word, enmeshment. One of the things that I've come to understand about the scientific community is that they're awesome at the math and the logic and, to a certain extent, the reasoning. They're not so great at what they call these things. So entanglement, oh man, that sounds so horrible. Or even dark matter, or
yeah, I know, right?
There's just too many contradictions and confusions, right?
Antimatter got me. I was like, why is it anti? Like, why is it anti?
or my favorite is the Big Bang. Well, first of all, it's not big. It's infinitely powerful in an infinitely small point in space-time, and it's definitely not loud because that event did not include anything physical to hear the reverberation of the sound that created. So it's all good. I'm a word nerd, and I'm also a wordsmith. So when you were talking about art forms, I believe that writing is an art form. Poetry is an art form. All of these things that we can do to express our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs, our ideas, our feelings, all of these ways and means of expressing the beauty and the essence. And sometimes we don't have words to describe our experiences, and in those situations,
I say that all the time,
when we are finding ourselves in those situations, we're still going to be able to express ourselves. We're going to laugh, we're going to cry, and sometimes we're gonna freaking yell, because you know what? That's what it means to be human. You have the ability to use your voice. You can use virtually every part of your body to communicate something. And you'll notice that I like to use my hands a lot.
Yeah, me too. Someday, I'm a hand talker.
Someday I would love to learn ASL. And you know what? If I get around to it, it's gonna be awesome. If I don't get around to it, that's okay too.
Yeah, 100%. So I believe that as the more open we are to not only express, but also to observe from a neutral standpoint, if you will, it makes a massive difference on our ability to retain information.
Yeah.
And so, because if you come in, say we started this call here, Michael, and I came in with the whole perception that you're wrong. Okay, like just imagine, yeah, like I don't,
Right.
but just for instance,
Right.
some do, some will. Like they come to me and they're like, I can tell from the minute we talk by their vibrational energetic signature, if you will, that they are like, they've made their mind up before we've even started. They've made their mind up like this is bullshit, and so they are not going to retain any information because they already are saying no. They're already like they're telling their cellular structure, no, that's not real. No, that I'm here to disprove that. Well, I can say something. Anything that I have disproven, I came into it with an open mindset, so I could observe the information that I was being given. I could analyze that information that I was given, and then I could discern as to what resonated with the topic, the said topic, or and what didn't. So I could decipher, if you will, the informational data stream that was coming in, because I wasn't blocking that informational data stream. So because the minute we start saying no, we are shutting out, like closing our doors, placing barriers, if you will, like no, that's not there. I don't believe it. So for me, I think the biggest thing that any human being can learn is to observe and analyze any information that they're getting from an open standpoint, and then use discernment once you have that data to process what resonates specifically, to yourself, rather than, okay, so I don't resonate with this and I'm going to go in and I'm going to disprove it wrong because I don't understand it. All of these, if you will, negative or self-destructive affirmations that you can put into your data system, if you will. So I always say I do just Alt Control Delete with like, I can't, I won't, I don't, and just I can, I will, I have. So because if you do that, rather than sitting here and me going, Michael, I don't understand that and that's wrong, I can say, Michael, I didn't quite grasp that. Can you enlighten me a bit more with some more information so I can then process that, so I can be at a point where you are and understand or grasp that information that you have already grasped. So because there is no wrong information, as you would well know, there is like you may have positive and negative aspects of information, but there is no wrong. Really, there's no right or wrong in this universe. You know what I'm saying? So what works for someone else may not work for me.
That's right. And even the idea of,
so it's okay.
Right.
It's okay. It works for them. Gets them through their daily, Yeah, go on.
Even the idea of positive and negative, from my point of view, these are just mathematical functions.
Correct. Yes.
One of the things to understand about our individual realities is that we like to be certain. The only way to be more certain about something is to refine our definition. So to redefine our reality as we're experiencing it requires focus, and you cannot ever waste your time because time is infinite. However, you can invest your time wisely by paying attention to however you are currently feeling. And that includes, like you said, the whole idea of discernment is how you exercise our free will. We get to choose what we are going to learn next.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
And the thing that just keeps on popping into my mind, going back to sort of a revelation that I had regarding consciousness this past 24 hours, is that I used to really resonate with the idea that consciousness creates the effect of reality. Well, and that still holds a lot of resonance with me. I am starting to feel like consciousness is the only thing that actually ever existed. Everything else is just sort of just, you know, the effects of consciousness. So consciousness,
causality of consciousness.
yeah, I mean, consciousness is causing itself to be experienced, because
Most definitely, yes.
why not, right?
Exactly, yeah, most definitely. So if you can imagine that, you know, you go back to primitive, if you go back to when we were monkeys, you know, if you go back that far, consciousness maybe might have been just a sound. Yep. So for them to communicate again. So, you know, this tribe's over there and that tribe's over there, and really language wasn't like a huge thing back then, but like this tribe goes, ooh, ooh, and that tribe goes, ew, ew, you know, and we knew the difference between that tribe and that tribe, right?
Yeah.
So again, if you can imagine that consciousness is ever growing, ever expanding, if you will, as we too expand, so does our informational database. And so if it is being logged into like a mass consciousness, we would be then able to access information like we do now, from now maybe, or from right back to almost the beginning of when man was able to scribe or write down, retain, hold information here. And you can see a pattern, a distinct pattern in all the information, whether it be from the beginning of time to now, that there is a distinct pattern to that information. However, it changes, like, so the labels or the description may change, the storyline behind that information, you could nearly lay them all on top of each other and you would see the same baseline. So if you were to put a baseline of information, so, you know, like this, like a heartbeat, you would be able to see, if you line them all up together, you would be able to see that that baseline has not changed at all. So it's this beautiful dance or symphony of information that we have. The only thing we do, if you imagine that that baseline is always there, like the bars on a symphony, they are always there, but us as unique energetic signatures, you could imagine that we are like the notes in those bars. And so as we tell our story and sing our songs or dance or however it is that you express that information that you have grasped in your existence, you are creating your space, your little place on those bars. And as you go along, it makes a symphony. Like, so you've got like Michael here, Kelly here, you've got, you know, da-da-da here, 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 and you've got us all singing our song, and all together it makes this beautiful conscious symphony. And that's not only in just sound, but it's also in the physicality, if you will, and also in expressed in the nature around us. So the global symphony, if you will, or symphonies, because plural, we have many globes, as you know. Currently we exist on this one, so the blue one. So in the 7th, I say, like, we've transitioned from like zero school, you know, like kindy, to like year 7. So that's what it's like for me. Yeah. So I have memories of Mars, I have memories of Venus, I have memories of Saturn. You know, and then if you go into the future from here, I've got if you will, visions of Nibiru and so on and so forth. So, you know, you can go into that more deeply as regards the universal structure and how she functions. she, he, how it functions. I don't like to do discernment of he or she. It's like God, when people say God is a he, yeah, how about just take that out? So let's just say source, it's easier. And then there's less, if you will, placement for arguments, because you will get people who resonate more with the divine feminine than the divine masculine. And so, when we get to the point where we are non-judgmental, we may discern the feminine, the masculine cellular structure. Ultimate knowledge is that at some point of your existence, you were both, and then your cellular structure chose one form. Yeah. So in this life, I'm a girl, right? I have a feminine body. I've bore children, I've created. So I created my people, if you want to say it like that. Yeah. Like they're my people and I'm their leader, like, because I'm their mum, right? So it's the same, like, you've got children, it's like, they're your people. You created them. They're your people and you're their leader. And then it comes into, who do you represent and how do you present? So if you're their leader, who do you represent and how do you present? So I represent humanity as a whole, and I present from a neutral standpoint. And I am a unique energetic signature. So that is me entirety. If you wanted to do it in entirety, that's it. That's how I exist. That's how I feel. I try and work from a non-judgmental place, a neutral standpoint. So, yeah. What are your thoughts on the whole, you're their leader, the kids? I come across that and it cracks me up. I'm like, yeah, this is true. This is true, because they are like little sponges. They learn everything from us. What are you putting into their life? Where are you, what path are you heading them off on? Are you heading off children, young adults that are open to observe all that is from a neutral standpoint? Or are you raising children that are negating a specific structure and then shutting down any information that may be beneficial for them on outside of that specific structure? So for me, I don't believe in limiting anybody. I believe that, some people come to me and they're like, I want to stay with you. You're the best, like, you're awesome. And then I have other people who come to me and they're like, oh, thank you for your help, but I'm moving on to here. Like, awesome. So either way, it's awesome for me. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're working with individuals, and as a teacher, you know this, if you're a grade 1 teacher, you don't keep them in grade 1 forever, right? You're like, that would be wrong, there's no right or wrong, but that would be non-beneficial for that child. If you said like, okay, so I'm going to keep you here till you're 20 years old in grade 1, that's not going to be beneficial for that individual, because how much information are they missing whilst you do that? So for me, it's not the length of time that someone stays with you, it's the quality that you spend together in that timeline.
Yes.
And really sharing it from a neutral standpoint.
Yes.
Like, you're amazing. Like, I sit and I'm mind blown by some of the individuals who are here on Facebook, and how we haven't been sat down in TED Talks is still beyond me. It's
yeah,
so
everything in due time, and everything occurs for a reason. One of the other things that I've been just sort of just in just sheer awe about is the idea that if everything occurs for a reason and everything is meant to happen, that means every single event, at least in my reality, I tend to not worry so much about the realities of others, although I don't like to see people suffer. I don't like bullies or people that abuse innocent beings. What I do have an ability to do is appreciate those disturbances and love the beings involved, especially when I don't like the behavior. I
Yeah,
don't
100%.
like seeing the results of abuse, for example. I
Yeah, no,
just
it's horrible. Yeah, yeah.
and the reason why I
Because we
don't
store
like it,
trauma.
yeah,
So
the
basically, at 80%, I would say 80% of the individuals that I work with have trapped trauma. So basically, as we know, we're a cellular structure.
Mhm.
When you have pain, so let's say childbirth, okay, it's a really easy one. I've done a lot of childbirth trauma releases with some beautiful women. Some of them may have felt it was not okay to scream when they were in labor. Some of them may have felt that it was a weakness to cry. Some of
No
them
way.
may have felt that they were even forced into having a child. Like I've been through lots of them. So they store that, right? So instead of going while they're in labor, they might have just bottled it up and shook, right? And so inside, there's still that scream. There's still that pain because they've trapped it in there. They're like, no, I can't let that out. Same as I've found, and so upon releasing, instantaneously, the cells go back to this neutral, balanced state of being. Same with men. So a man that men that I've worked with, it was weak to cry. It was not masculine to want to, I don't know, maybe like, I don't know, dance like a woman, or whatever it might have been. Yeah. When I can get them to that point and we have a big teary session, like they just let it all out with the screams, with the yells, with the cry, with the little inner boy, like the inner child that's like, he was scared or he was like really confused because he didn't understand why he was being targeted, like whatever it might be. When they begin to unpack this and let it out, that trapped energy is transmuted from this like negative energy around you in our spheres. So about 3 meters round, we have this sphere of energy from our heart space. So when we're trapping these energies, if you will, and we release them, it gives them the ample opportunity to go from a, if you will, negative sense or a non-beneficial cell like that is within your system into a light or a more beneficial cellular structure that then you can utilize to energize your system. So if you're constantly releasing the negative, like when we breathe out, we don't hold our toxins in. So we breathe in oxygen and we breathe out all that doesn't serve us. So it's the same. If you breathe in something like pain, if you hold it, you can only hold your breath for so long before you're going to pass the fuck out, right? So if you've got pain, you need to release that pain, however it may be, whether it's screaming, crying, dancing, yelling, playing a drum, playing a guitar, whatever it is. If you release that pain, it allows your cellular structure then to vibrate at optional or optimal capacity. Like, so you're no longer overly burdened with, non-beneficial vibration of the cell. And so again, and we've seen this. So inflammation of cellular structure is one of the predominant causes of dis-ease, if you will. So dis-ease or disease, so things like cancer, or immuno problems, so with the immune system, it is a inflammation of the cellular structure. So if you can literally release that instantaneously, you will reduce that inflammation of the cellular structure and you will be without dis-ease. And so it is, the mind, as we know, is one of the most phenomenal tools that we have. People can think themselves into like coma-like stasis, or, like they literally, like you can see people, I can't walk anymore. They just think they can't walk anymore. and they can't walk. So when we can understand the mind for one, and then outside of the mind, understand parapsychology. I did a bachelor's in psychological sciences. And so outside of, just your standard psych sciences, you have parapsychology and parapsych sciences. So, and that is what we cannot see, if you will.
Right.
Ultimately, now with the technology that we have, we are becoming more able to see a lot more things because of the amount of coverage that we have with the telecommunications that we have and the infotech that we currently, are using. So it's going to be an interesting next, let's say, 500 years, in seeing how much we can actually capture in regards to the parapsychology or the unseen to date. So I'm super intrigued, and like I'm a sponge. So they say, when do you finish? I don't think we ever finish. I think we just
why would you ever want to finish?
I don't know why they think that. I don't know. I don't. But that's me.
Yeah.
I often sit with that. I'm like, I had one ask me, "Oh, can you read future? And could you tell me when I'm going to die?" And I was just like, why do you want to know that?
I know, right?
That was my response. And I'm like totally honest. Like, I don't sugarcoat things. If someone pulls a bad card, they pull a bad card. Like, and 9 times out of 10, they're like, "Oh, you were right. Like, I've been doing that,"
Right.
So I don't sugarcoat anything, but I said to the individual, I was like, why do you want to know when you die? Is that going to help you avoid it? And if so, why are you avoiding it? Like, wouldn't you live your life to the fullest in every moment that you have and just think it doesn't really matter when I die? Like, it's just because all we have is now. Like, so, and so, yes, all right, we know that the physical body, it gets older, like I've explained with the whole apple tree. You drop an apple on the ground, it rots, the tree, it'll go into the ground, it grows a tree, and then that tree bears fruit, the fruit drops, and it does the same cycle. So you've got this cyclical, if you will, like life of existence. And so for me, we don't actually die as per se. Our physical representation, matter, ceases to exist, but our energetic signature is infinite, and it lives on. It's like this constant. So light switch, everyone thinks, "Oh, I turned the light off, so the power stopped." No, it didn't. It never stopped. It was just going in the background. You just put a cut off shit, like a switch in front of it, so that it's like, you're blocking it from going any further that way. Now, if you think of that in the sense of our chakras, how many light switches have people not turned on or off? It's like, is it on or off? For me, it's that simple. It's like, okay, is my heart space open? Oh, no. On, like, let's go, and same. Third eye on, crown on, keep it all aligned. And people are like, "Oh, but you have to be in meditative state to do that." No, we're in constant meditation. We are, if you've done the work, you'll know no information is ever unavailable to you. You just go, "Okay, where do I need it? There it is, right there. I'll have that. Thank you." And that's because all of your alignment and all your gateways are open. You think of them like portals, if you've got your portals shut, you've got energy that might be stuck between 1 and 2 or 4 and 6. And so if you open them, you have this beautiful flow of information, and there is no, you're limitless. You can just grasp it wherever you want it. Like, it's like, how open are you? How much do you want to grab? Like, where are you reaching to? And so for me, my grandpa said, You are the makeup of the 5 people you hang around with most. And I was like, right, so I'm going to try and find some really cool individuals that are full of information, and I'm just going to like suck it up, like suck it up, and then those 5 changed to another 5 and another 5 and another 5.
Yeah.
And eventually it was like, I didn't necessarily need to be in the field of those individuals because I had already grasped the information. If you say I neurohacked Eckhart Tolle and then I neurohacked Roger Waters, then, you could be like, okay, I need information from there. So I'm going to talk about, the dynamics of, quantum mechanics and how that works. Boom, instantaneously, I'll go to certain, I'll go to a certain individual. Boom, I have that information. Just like when you've read in a library, you go, it's at 70717, whatever. Yeah, like in the library, and you'll pull out that book because that's that number. I'll have that now and I'll use it. And it's the same with any informational data that we hold, whether you see it as numeracy, some see it as shapes, so geometry, some see it as numbers, depending on how you resonate, alphabet, it could be lots of things. But really, I think that we as human beings limit ourselves, outside of the elite and all of those things. People are like, oh, but the elite are controlling it. I'm like, they only control what you think they can. So, if you're thinking you're controlled, then you're controlled.
Then you are controlled.
Yeah. If you're thinking it's like the demon thing. If you're seeing demons, then what are you manifesting? The world's going to end in 802 days. No, it's not, motherfucker. No, it's not. It's not going to fucking end. Like, it's an infinite thing. Like, we have evolved beyond a state of thinking even like that. It's not beneficial for humanity to even think like that. People are like, oh, but all the signs. And I'm like, yeah, all the signs. How much have we evolved since that state, that it may or may not have happened? Because historical narrative, we don't even know if it really did. If you look at the linear structure of Earth, the layers, if you will, the sedimental layers, you can see that it never stopped. There's just these layers, like these these layers. And whether you see them as timelines or whether you see them as just, layers of geometry, however you see it, it's a really cool indication of how Earth works and how we exist. If you look at even the eye, like the human eye, and I think I discussed this slightly with you once before, there are places on the Earth that if you're looking from above, you literally can see an eye on Earth, like whether they are, pieces of water or whatever, but you can literally see the geometry and structure of an eye. And so if it's saying as within, so without, or as above, so below, then you would understand that not only if you look into space as well, you can see the big old cat's eye that we know. So it's in space, it's on Earth, it's in us. It's not that hard to work out. Like, really, it's not that hard to work out that we are one and the same thing. So we are the universe. We are there in part of the universe. Like a fractalization, if you will. So if you imagine energetic signatures all coming down, and all of them, light and sound, create a picture, like how we beam a picture, from a camera, or what are they called? Those projectors. That's what I'm looking for, projector. So if you've got a projector and you've got light and sound, you make a picture, right? So it's exactly the same as us. So imagine that on a grand scale, there is a beginning, and then there are these projections that allow us this existence. Pretty cool, like
Yeah. I like that idea. Allowance of the experience. So we get to experience life. We don't have to, We don't really have to do much of anything other than breathe. And even
Correct.
then, nobody's here against their will. If somebody, for example, has just said, you know what, enough is enough already. I wish to, exit stage left. Then, I understand that. I would never wish that somebody would ever have to suffer life so much that they would feel like that is the best decision because of, and I've had friends that have done that.
Yeah, me too. My parents. So yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah. It's important to realize that. So we had earlier been talking about the soul and free will and all of these things, and they're all connected, incidentally.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
So a lot of people talk about the soul contract. Well, I think it's important to understand that you sign your own contract.
Yes.
We all have signed up for this.
Yes. Yeah. No more than one can bear is what my source just said. So
what's that?
No more than one can bear.
Yes.
Is what source just said to me. And like, so we've got individuals here at the moment. They're like, I want to go home. You are home.
Yeah. Hello.
Home. Woo. Like you chose this. Do you know what? Out of all the existence that I can remember, this has been the most peaceful, the most eye-opening experience to date that I have had. So, everyone, I'll say it out here, everyone wants to come to the big blue. Only a select few are chosen. So to be precise, it's 7.7 billion, lots of sevens, light beings that are chosen at one point to exist on this beautiful blue planet. So now take away your, I don't want to be here because you're lucky to be here. Not everyone gets chosen to come to here. So it is.
Who does the choosing? From your point of view, who does the choosing?
So from my point of view, I believe that we are all in like a massive school, like Hogwarts, nearly, you could call it, and that as we evolve and grasp more information, we are sent to different places in the universe to obtain that information, if you will. And as far as I know, there is a stable, what I call a stable source signature that ultimately created the universe. It is neither female nor masculine. It is full of the whole information of the universe.
All of it.
Yes, everything. And so it's like, some would call it God. Some would call it source, like source
Creator.
creation, if you will. For
Creator.
me, yeah, creator. Yeah. So for me, there is this omnipresent, if you will, source stable signature that we are all there in part fractals of. And so it is like it sends you to gain information, like you become the eyes for source or the ears for source or you know what I mean? Like, so that it can obtain this information and then create again that extra bit that we need, to advance humanity or to advance whatever civilization, because there are many. There is not just humanity. And so like I said, there's big ones, there's little ones. We don't eat each other. We all get along, sort of thing. That's on other planets. Here on Earth, it's quite a peaceful coexistence. However, as far as I know, to my knowledge, in all of my existence, I've done 8,972 reanimations. And so far, humans are the nastiest that I've come across. Just so you know.
That's
from an
funny.
observational standpoint, I've encountered beings, if you will, aliens, even what some would describe as demonic beings, because of the way they present, if you will. I prefer to call them lost souls, because most of them that present in that state are unaware that they've actually passed over. And so that's a whole nother, conversation. But to date, in my existence, the meanest ones, if you will, and most destructive that I have met are human beings. And
yet also capable of great love and compassion, though. So this is the paradox, isn't it?
Yes,
the human being that is sapient,
yes,
is aware of their consciousness, their sentience and awareness. Now, not
so they
every.
are nice.
What's that?
They are nice. They are nice.
Right. So if you are aware of your abilities and your gifts of communication and creativity and all of these great things, if you are truly aware of how beneficial it is to share information that has come to be known to you, not things that are just opinions. I'm talking about truthful and beneficial knowledge. When you share that, that is the most compassionate thing you can do, because sometimes it's going to require a lot of courage. It's going to take a lot of faith. It's going to take time and energy to express yourself. And when you understand that the most powerful energy in the universe is love, then you're going to know more about why you exist. You're going to understand 100%. That you have certain functions. You're going to take on certain roles, and there's going to be different things that you get to experience. But it all goes back to the source of all of this information, because it is a symbiotic relationship. It's a perfectly harmonious. And this is why people may be familiar with the idea of being created in the image of God. And it's the imagination of God that is beyond, male and female. It's beyond, physicality, as it were. This whole thing about physicality being what is real. Well, it's only one half of your existence. So the non-physical, the non-physical, the spiritual essences of our states of being is what matters the most. Because if you, for example, have a lot of knowledge, let's say you're brilliant and you're, super smart, you understand, let's just say for fun, you understand quantum mechanics, you understand relativity, you understand biology and chemistry and all of these great things, but you're not enjoying life. You find yourself disturbed and angry and pissed off. I mean, what would matter more to the creator? A being that simply appreciates life based on however they perceive it, regardless of that being's views of the creator. So, for example, an atheist could very, very easily be very peaceful in their existence, with their understanding, because they actually do believe in a quality of God that involves non-physicality.
Yeah, most definitely. Some of the most amazing individuals I've met have been both atheist and religious. So I've watched individuals go from complete religious standpoints. So they were highly religious, into obtaining information, and then being atheist. And then I've gone one more on that, and I've observed people who have been both, gone from atheist to religious to no label, like me. So I literally, I went through, like I said, I studied pretty well all the religions gave them all a go. And then, you know, I went outside of that. I went into mythology, and then I was like, all right, so let's understand atheism. Like, you know, where are they going with that? You know, then I was like scientists, and then I was like, you know, it just kept going. And I was like, I got to the point where after I had grasped all of that, that I was like, got to a point where it was like, once you know a certain amount of information, you realize that you're nothing more than, like I say, a unique energetic signature with the consciousness of God, if you will, and the information of all that has been and all that will be. And so it's really just, and I don't like the word negate, because again, it's sort of somewhat a negative term, but it's really about navigating then your path to whatever chosen destination, you know, you pick, you know, or maybe you don't have one, you know what I mean? Like some people like, I don't have a destination. Like, okay, cool, that's all right. Like,
yeah, if like
some people, I mean, I've met some really knowledgeable monks, and they don't have any, you know, like real, you know, oh, I want to know all this or I want to know all that. They're just like happy to just be, just to be, you know, and just sit, like, and be at peace. And I'm like, at the start, I couldn't understand. I'm like, oh, I think I was quite young, and I was like, they're wasting time. And then when I got to understand the universal structure, how it really works, I was like, no, they're doing their part. They're doing their piece of where they're at, you know, like that's where they're at. So I think we all play a role, if you will, in life as we know it. And whatever that role may be for whoever, it's right for them, you know, in that moment, it's right for them. Predominantly for me, it's about, people ask, why am I on here? To lessen suffering, and to, if you will, create equal opportunity for individuals to be heard telling their stories, however those stories might come out, but to predominantly create safe and effective platforms for individuals to share their story, because to my knowledge, at the end of the day, all we have is our stories. So and so, you know, if you remember back in the old days, there were elders who used to share their stories, you know, with the younger, and that helped those younger individuals on their journey. Then they could explore a little more and ultimately create stories that they would then tell their children. So our children are the future. No one can deny that. They definitely are our future. So I'm all about creating safe, effective platforms for our children, one, to be educated, two, to share their observations, and three, to communicate and, if you will, interact with other individuals who may or may not resonate at that frequency. So that's why I'm here. That's my end goal. Do I have a little bit of a, you know, do I have modalities or a method? Yes, I do have a method. Is it the only one? No, it's definitely not. Does it work for me, and has it worked for individuals other than me? Yes, it does. Is it necessary for you to do all the sevens method? Not necessarily. You may find another way around it that aligns you in that aspect. I really don't think that we're here to judge in any way, shape, or form. However, I would encourage everyone to discern what resonates at that frequency for themselves in that moment, and then to act accordingly. And if you are stuck, lost, confused, don't be afraid to reach out and say, hey, I'm having a shitty day, or, you know, whatever it might be, because you'll be surprised who's there to pick you up and say, hey, it's all good, I've been there. I know what that feels like. And let me talk you through it as best I can, and we'll get to the other side of it. You can have a cry and you can have a scream or whatever it might be that you need to do in that moment. And sometimes it's just sitting with someone who can just hold a bit of space and really, help you to unpack, your suitcase, as I said in the first one. So, yeah. But like, it's phenomenal. Like I sit and I look at you, Michael, and I'm like, you're not the only one, but there's some amazing individuals out there trying to assist others in getting to be able to express their stories. As a writer, you well know, some of us are able to write it down structured. For me, it's not so much like that. Like if I went through my writings, I have like this much writing and it's all on random pages, and they're like, oh, make a book. And I'm like, want to come help me sort through the shit?
Yeah.
Because there's so much there. So for me, it was easier to verbalize it.
Yeah, I aspire to inspire.
Yes.
And
what
what I do as a philosopher is I ask the question. My favorite all-time question is, why does it exist? And then my second favorite all-time question is, why not? So when somebody says something to me that makes me think about a topic or a person, place, or thing, and I can, and it happens, it's happening more frequently. I'm finding the resonant frequencies of various people and different things much more efficiently than I did in the past. And it does involve a level of discernment. It does include, I like to think of things as evaluating them. So when you evaluate something, you're looking for the value. And in each person, because of their own signature, their resonant frequency signatures, we are seeking out similar frequencies, which is how music works and how harmony works. And you know what? There's a term that a lot of people are familiar with. It's called cognitive dissonance. Now, if somebody thinks that they know what's best for other people and they don't allow them to express themselves freely, for example, when somebody, and they may have good intentions, but if they think that they are righteous and they have not fully accepted that everybody is on their own journey, then when they say something to somebody else and it doesn't resonate, and again, I'm thinking of somebody in particular that I recently went through this experience with. He asked why I was triggered. So if you ever ask somebody, why are you triggered? Then you already know that they are triggered. And if you are conducting some sort of experiment to see if you can annoy people to the point of where they will be triggered, and you enjoy that, that's intrusive. That is being spiritually abusive. And you know what? It's okay that you get triggered. It's okay that things bother you, because if things never if things never bothered us, then
you're ignorant. If you don't get triggered, you're ignorant. This is what I say. Like, in order for you to be, like, if you will, what are you doing, Muff? Get up here. Hang on. This is like jumping around. If you're, let's say you've gone 12 months on a social platform and you've not been triggered one bit, right? Not one little bit. You are ignorant. You are 100% ignorant. And they say ignorance is bliss. It really, I don't know for how long that can be like that, but like, I just don't think it is. Ignorance means a lack of ability to obtain information, because you are like, this is my way and there's no other way. Like, and so, and no matter what, I'm not going to be upset by or even acknowledge. To be triggered, you must acknowledge something, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're not accepting and you're not acknowledging something, mm-hmm. you're not growing. You're stuck. Yeah. You're stagnant, right? So, yeah. And last I checked, we are how much made up of water? If you're not flowing, you're stagnant.
70%?
Yeah,
somewhere
76 point something, I think somewhere around the 76.3 or something like that.
77?
Yeah, let's go 77. We like that. But like, if you're not flowing, you will become stagnant. Yeah. You will become really like meh. Like that's the only way I can describe it. It's like a meh feeling. Like you just
flowing is growing.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're in a constant state of flow, like what we call flow state, then you are constantly looking for new things to grasp, new things to observe, new things to analyze. And that flow state allows you then, yes, you will be triggered. It's 100% normal to be triggered. I too get triggered. You know, that someone will come into my field and I'm like, how are you so fucking ignorant? And why are you so nasty? Like, I don't, you know, and jealousy is a curse. 100% jealousy is a curse. One of the biggest ones I find here is ego and jealousy. And greed is in there a bit, but predominantly ego and jealousy. They'll come in and they are basically searching for information, but they're not searching for self-growth. They're searching for information that they can manipulate in order to grow the ego or to prove that they are better than, or to, you know, get some sort of financial gain. Like, so it's greed. And so, you know, upon observing that, I realized some of these individuals that we are looking up to as influencers, if you will, stop, just stop. Because like, don't look up to them, because they are literally taking other people's information, manipulating it, and then distorting it for financial gain or for egocentrical gain. So, you know, fame, you know, I'm the best, blah, blah, blah. No one here is better than anyone else. What I will say is some of us have evolved and grasped information a little easier than others. And we may be more aware of certain things. However, even those individuals that come into my field that I see that hit those three, let's say, I would be, in the most polite way, I would say, look, I'm really sorry I don't resonate with you, but I wish you all the best in love, health, peace, joy, and harmony. Yeah. But right now, it is non-serving for me to be in that resonant signature. Sure. As regards my information, I have always given out my information free or freely. It is only more recently that I have started to ask for some sort of donations or such, just to allow me to continue this, because it is quite costly using the internet and having the tools and stuff. But generally speaking, to me, information is free because it is everywhere. And so for anyone who says this is my modality and you have to pay for this, maybe you want to sit with that for a little while, because ultimately it is the source creator, or if you will, the consciousness, source consciousness, where all of these ideas, if you will, ideatheism, are up in there. And you might have grabbed it and you might have written it down on a bit of paper, but ultimately that information is always there. So it is to share. We are here to share this information. And when I say, like, I say it like as if we were little kids, you know, sit in a circle and there's all these toys and you can share them and play nice with them. But when we leave, you have to leave those toys there. It is basically that simple. So if someone has more of one thing and can help another one out, that's basically how it's supposed to be. And then when we all leave, well, we leave all those toys for our kids and their kids and their kids to continue to play with. That includes the planet. So
it's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah. Play nice. right? I
Yeah,
mean,
play
is
nice
it that
kids.
hard?
Like play
So,
nice
so,
kids.
so when we were in kindergarten and we were
Mhm.
5 years old, I
Mhm.
remember, incidentally, you were talking about some of your memories. One of my fondest memories is the day I learned how to read, and I was like, "Woo!"
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
I get to understand these
I
words
know,
in this
right?
book. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so the most important lessons we learn on the playground. Play nice,
Yes.
share, be polite, don't be disrespectful, don't
Yes.
bully people. I mean, it's
Yes.
so
Like if you don't want
simple.
to be punched in the face, don't punch someone in the face. Like it's real easy. It's real easy. Like it's
Yeah.
I've lived by that like all my life. And I was bullied. I was a bit nerdy, like I was the nerdy, uh, you know, uh, the nerdy teenager at school that was like constantly asking why are you always asking me questions? Why are you always asking me? And because I want to know. Like I just want to know. Like they'd be being mean. I'm like, why are you mean? Because no, but like tell me why. Like really tell me why. And half the time they're just a scared kid
Yeah.
that's like been in a situation where they felt the need to protect themselves. The biggest thing that one of my elders said to me was hurt people hurt people.
Yeah. I saw that
And
recently.
yeah, and so that was huge for me. And I do 100% agree that although your heart might be in the right place because you may have been in an instance where you needed assistance and you think maybe you've got all the answers right now and that you can help someone, I would like probably my message is to say that all information is beneficial when it's coming from a healed individual who is balanced and from a neutral
Mm.
standpoint. So
Yeah.
when people come to me and they're like, okay, so Kelly, I've got this, I sit there neutral and I listen to them. And then I will begin to ask some questions to that individual to
Perfect.
deepen my knowledge on their pathway. And if I have information that I believe would be beneficial for them, then I proceed to tell them in a neutral standpoint. Again, not that I know everything because I don't know everything. And I will observe that individual whilst I'm doing that to see that it is beneficial for them. If at any one point or time I'm causing discomfort or confusion, I would
Mm.
stop and I would then reevaluate. So I would ask again, did you understand that? Is there more information you need on that? Do you have any questions or do you have some information for me that would help me to understand why you didn't comprehend what I was saying? So then again, always this communication. Communication is the key. So,
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these individuals, I see them come into the sessions and they're like, okay, so today we're going to be doing this. Well, that's great. But what if one of those, let's say the 7 individuals, what if one of those 7 individuals at step 2 doesn't understand anymore and needed further explanation or further release at step 2 instead of getting to step 7, right? And you've missed it because you're just doing a program, right? Like, so you've got your program, right? So you're running through your program and you expect, again, expectation, not a good thing. You're expecting those individuals to be able to flow through those 7 transitional states, right? But what if at step 2, Bob is lost, but he's too nervous to say, fucking got lost here. I didn't get that. So you're moving on. Bob's stuck at 2. You've got Sally and Fred and George. They're all going along. They get to 5 or 6, and then you're still going. And they're stuck at 5 or 6, but you're still going, and you get to 7, and you're like, how is that for everyone?
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't even noticed because you're not even observing those individuals that you're working with.
Right.
So when we have individuals or influencers who have a following of, let's say 30,000 individuals. Realistically, how many of those individuals have they actually worked with on a basis where they know that the information or program that they are putting out has actually benefited and been retained to complete acknowledgement? Probably not many, right? So for me, I'm all about quality over quantity. So I think I've got about 4,000 odd followers. I can say with 100% honesty that I have interacted with each and every one of them at some point, and have seen beneficial results from those individuals. And if I was ever asked a question by anyone who is there or that would come into my field, I do my best to assist that individual until I know that they have obtained the information that they sought from me, if you will. So again, my push would be quality over quantity, and stay true to your teachings, but be 100% observant and remain in a neutral place whilst teaching. So again, that teacher-student role, I might sit with you, Michael, and, some things like I'll teach you, but again, I'm not restricting myself. I'm like, okay, so now I'm going to listen to Michael and see if there's something that he's got that I don't, you know what I mean? And that's where we get this beautiful, if you will, symbiotic communication where we can grow in such a short space of time. And it's beautiful. It's really cool.
Yeah, I love that word neutral. I came up with a concept a couple of weeks ago. I call it neutral observational perception. And it's done very easily. And if you're balanced and you can find your I call it your 0 point, you can literally be perfectly open-minded, because then and only then can you view your reality from this 360-degree spherical space.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that you cannot change your point of view. It actually quite the opposite. It's the easiest way to change your point of view, because you can literally
navigation is easier.
100%.
Yeah.
So now to be able to navigate through these amazing puzzles and understand that problems are just paradoxes that have already been resolved, and they're just waiting. They're asking for you to come to your own conclusions. We're not here to tell people what to think, what to believe, or how we think they should feel. We are here to share with people how to use your feelings, how to evaluate the realities from a standpoint of it being informational. And yet there's nothing wrong with, like you said, using discernment. You're not supposed to like everything.
Say to me, "Oh, you're not supposed to do that," and I'm like, "Okay, so you're driving down a road. It's like this. You're driving down a road, and you come to a T intersection, and one sign says, scenic route, could get rough. And the other side says, straight path, A to B, no bumps, right? So you're like, pull up and you're like, today I'm going to take the scenic route, right? And so off you go on your bumpy four-wheel drive, and you're hooning along and you're enjoying the scene, and it's beautiful, right? It may not be the smoothest road, but you take it. The next day you pull up and you go, today I'm just going to take the smooth way. I'm going to take the highway, A to B, no bumps, not looking at fuck all, zoom, zoom. I'm just getting there to there, right? In every moment, we are doing that. Every single, like this moment, we are literally choosing a path. So some of us, we're super, like Inspector Gadget people or the sleuth, we're like, scenic route, like every time, right? So we want to know everything. We're like looking at everything. then there's the people that are just like, you know what? No, I'm pretty happy with just like A to B. A to B is good for me. Like that works. Again, that is right for those individuals, right? So we can encourage them to take the scenic route and have a look around, see what's there, you know, like really explore. We cannot force anybody to do that. Again, we have this free will of choice. So, you know, what I can say is that if we're here to make the most of our lives, that we're here, we get one go at it, right? So if you know, in this form, we get one go. So Kelly gets one go, right? Make the most of it, whatever it is, whether it's loving your children, being the best mum that you can be, whether it's being the best philosopher you can be and really digging in and finding out all those things that you really want to know and share with the world. You know, whether you're an artist, whatever it is, whatever your thing is, whatever you're drawn to, called to, your niche, your whatever you want to call it, you get one go at it. So do it to the best that you can, to the fullest you can. And so whether that's like you're a writer, like me, I'm a poet. Don't be afraid to share your stories. Yeah, like people need to lose judgment of themselves in order for us to heal judgment in the world. First, lose it for yourself. So the minute you stop judging yourself, you will begin to cease judging others. The minute you come at yourself from a neutral standpoint, you will begin to go to others from a neutral standpoint. Everything starts inside. So people that are, oh, I'm only attracting needy people. You need to get rid of the need inside you.
Attachments. All of these attachments.
Again, this twin flame. So everyone has an aeonic match. Did you write that in for yourself? Because not everyone did. So, you know, I would say that if you're seeking for another to complete you in any way, shape, or form, go within. Go within, sit with yourself. Does your inner child need a hug? Do you need to talk to yourself a little more? You know, are you listening to yourself? Because to the best of my knowledge, if we are to coexist with somebody else, we need to be balanced. Balance doesn't come from need. It doesn't come from want. It doesn't come from desire. It comes from an inner knowing of how we exist and why we're here. So when you get to that, it is almost as though kinetically, magnetically, that individual with that signature, if you will, that is resonant to yours will be drawn in to you, and you will coexist in a beautiful existence without fear, without trauma, without need. You know, you often see, I see a lot of trauma bonding, like a shitload of trauma bonding, like so much trauma bonding. And I'm like, oh, that's not how it's supposed to be. Like, come on, guys. Like, it's beautiful. And I see people healing together like that somewhat, but I also see a lot of destruction. Like, you know, you get two people that have trauma bonded and then they're just like hating on each other because like they're just mirroring these traumas like this
they
in
think
each other.
They think it's a race.
And I'm like, no, a relationship should just flow, just like the water. It should just flow. If there's any resistance, as soon as you feel that, go inside. What is it? Where did it come from? Heal you, heal the relationship. Like I get couples coming to me and they're like, you know, I'm so spiritually advanced and I want my partner to be spiritually advanced. And I'm like, you want it. There's your problem. There's your problem.
Yeah. It's whenever anybody makes any sort of claim of thinking that they know something. So obviously the cognitive processes that we have are important. It really just gets the ball rolling, as I see
100%.
it.
Yes.
And once you can take the ball and roll it into the belief system, where now you're learning how to use reason, and you're learning how to recognize the power of emotions, and you're able to sort of use, not sort of, but literally use your imagination to make sense out of the reality that you're experiencing. Then you're moving into a level of knowing where it's more about feeling. So I very often will say, I feel that X, Y, and Z, instead of saying, I think that. Now, I do sometimes say I think that, but I catch myself, because very often we have these opinions about things, and an opinion is a thought. It's not entirely useless, but it's only partially, very, very partially accurate.
It's a small part. Yeah.
It's just a very small piece of the puzzle of being able to answer the question, why does that thing exist? Why does that person exist? Why does that process exist? So on and so forth. So our job as being observant, and think of the word servant in observant.
Yes, 100%.
Is to be able to process the information from your point of view. And if you take responsibility for your consciousness, and you know that you do have the power to influence people, and yet you choose to consciously destroy others, or even just
distort is another word I use.
Confuse. Just you intentionally try to confuse them and try to disturb them. I mean, these are all violations of your space. It's very, it's at least disrespectful, if not hateful, spiteful, and ultimately destructive for yourself to do those things, because causality will always,
we know the karma train. Toot toot is in express. I say like this. I said boarding at platform 77. Toot toot, karma train in express. You know, so when you learn, like, especially when you can understand causality, like I think that's a big part of this, is that many don't understand causality. And so again, so the domestication process of the human being, if you will, has come so far that the original, basics that we would have generally relied on, again, fight, flight, geolocation, Bluetooth, communication, taste, sound, all of those things, we rely so heavily on, and I actually wrote a poem about it, we wake every morning to a screen that wakes us up, tells us what we're going to do all day, and ultimately is controlling us, right? So even though we put it in front of ourselves, but ultimately it tells you what the weather's going to be, it tells you what you're going to do. For God's sake, some people even pick their clothes online, like the everything, their whole existence is if you will, an informative technological experience. So I think for a while there, people forgot there was even an outside, like there's outside, like it feels good to go outside, right? Like I remember I was talking to one individual, and he was an IT specialist, and I said, when was the last time, like I could tell looking at him, he was vitamin D deficient. And I said, when was the last time you actually went outside? And he said, oh, couple of weeks. I said, that's disgusting. That's really not cool. Like, seriously, take your shoes off and go outside and just connect to earth. We are
ground yourself.
Current. Like, we are a conduit of energy, if you will. Now, if whoever thought of shoes, clever, but really probably not a nice thing at the end of the day. So we need to ground our electrical current daily. One of the 100%. Main things I do is I have a bit of copper wire and I will wrap it around both my two big toes and I stick it into the ground, and I do that daily. Like, I go out and I do that daily, because when we wear shoes, we are no longer connected to earth, especially if they're rubber. You know how the old rubber boots and you touch an electric fence? It's always worse if you've got rubber boots on than if you if you've got bare feet. And so it's common sense of electricity and energetic matter that any electrical current needs to be grounded. The fact that we are electricity in water. Does anyone know what happens when you chuck a toaster into a bath? Anybody? Yeah. So now if you're not grounded and you're in that bath, you're what? You're dead, right?
You're not able to discharge that static electricity.
So people say to me, oh, I feel like I'm going crazy. You know, my energies are crazy. Go outside, connect to earth, let some of it flow through. You're storing too much.
Yes.
You've had a download of information, a download of solar codes, whatever it might be, and you are not allowing them to flow. You cannot hold on to anything for any extended period of time, whether that be excess energy or not enough energy, cellular structure. So if it was inflammation or reduction, you can't, it's not a constant. Nothing is a constant. So you have to constantly be allowing that flow state. So whether it's up or down, you know, like you're in a bass drop or you're up in like a crescendo, you know what I mean? Like, either way, you need to allow that to flow. So for me, huge thing, people said, how do you ground? I ground with Mother Earth. Some people say food. Some people, you know, they all have their different ways. My personal preference, and to my knowledge, if I can get anyone who is disorientated or distorted, chaotic, if I can get them onto the ground and I can just get them to sit, even if it's only for a little while, you know, maybe 5-10 minutes, I can see huge results.
Yeah.
So
I bet
we are not meant to be in boxes. However comfortable they are, which we've done an amazing job at creating some really amazing boxes to live in. However, the natural flow state of a human being is to be in nature. So predominantly, all right, you work your 9 to 5. Instead of driving in a car, which is another box, instead of driving in a car, you could drive nearly all the way to work, and then you could walk, you know, barefoot for 5 minutes before you go into work. You could finish work and you could walk 5 minutes to your car barefoot, and you could ground yourself after work, releasing any negative or non-beneficial energies that you have absorbed whilst at work. You know what I mean? Like, we all have jobs. I understand that. I don't expect people to become, you know, super spiritual and not go to work or anything like that. We all have finance that we need to survive, to create these lifestyles that we envision or imagine. However, what I would say is there are ways that you can bring nature and imagination into your lifestyle without changing your life that much, in the sense of your structural do-nows. What I can say is that by doing that, you will change your life drastically, in a beneficial sense, that you would be able to be at a more neutral standpoint and not so chaotic in your energies. So yeah, there's that.
Yeah. like I said before, and I'll say it again, even though it goes without saying, everything that you are saying makes sense. The reason why I know it is because I feel the resonance. And this is one of the things that I'm learning how to do. I'm literally learning how to feel everything.
Yes.
So I don't just look at things. I see them. I don't just hear things. I listen to them. And I don't just smell, taste, and touch things. I literally
You live it.
I just become a part of those frequencies.
Yeah,
I
you
make
live
them,
it. Yeah.
I make them a part of me. You know, it's just
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, no, that's perfect. The way you said
and
that is perfect. Yeah, 100%. When I'm
it's
reading
simple.
someone, you know, it's the same deal. I say, so I explained it as a tally merge, if you will. When I'm working with people, some people explain it as hypnotherapy, so on and so forth. At the end of the day, I'm synchronizing my vibrational frequency with yours so I can fully understand you in that moment. And so the same with you, instead of just seeing with eyes to see, hearing with ears to hear, we then become though that almost like we're observing from a third person standpoint and really observing that individual as well as trying to feel into how they're feeling, acknowledging it, and then processing it. And if there is a way that we already know that has been beneficial for us, then we would then share that information. We're not forcing it, but sharing that information. And that individual then has the opportunity to, again, from a neutral standpoint, to grasp that shared information, or to say, no, I discern that that is not resonant for me and it doesn't work.
There you go.
And so, you know what I mean? So I just see this beauty in the communication. And as we grow as a human race, I see a more balanced, if you're looking at timelines, let's say that we did this, you know, a few thousand years ago, similarities, very similar. I'm seeing humanity as a whole grasping the information more effectively this time, and there being less distortion in those informative fields that are being fed out. However, as always, we are always going to have, you know, the polarity, if you will, and so by us just being ourselves, without want, without need, and just sharing freely is probably the biggest thing I want to put across. We are ultimately educating those individuals who are yet to do that. So not discounting the information that they have because it may well be beneficial, but allowing them to observe, probably not from a neutral standpoint, but observe nonetheless what happens when it is shared freely and how beneficial that is for humanity. Because as I said, we didn't go into kindy and have to pay to play with those toys, did we? Nope. We went there and we shared fruit and we shared toys, and we didn't have to pay. We just went there and we all shared and we all played nice because we were children, and back then we really didn't probably, you know, you get the odd greedy one that put 2 apples in his pocket and I'm fucking taking them home, you know. But then you got the one who had 2 apples in her hand and gave both her apples away because she really wasn't that hungry. So it balances out. It balances out.
Yeah. It's funny how things have a tendency to balance themselves out. So it's really more a matter of paying attention to however you're currently feeling, acknowledging that the realities of other beings matters. Everybody's reality matters to them. And we get to decide what we're going to sort of continue maintaining as far as these frequencies go. So if something is off, if something doesn't feel right, it doesn't mean that you are being judgmental, because you've already experienced it. You've reached the point of its expiration date. And I don't know if I talked about expired milk earlier. Maybe
you can do that. You can. I think that was with David. I think he did it. I think we had a chat with him. Go on.
So the point of it is, pay attention to the expiration dates. And how will you know when it's time to let go? When you feel yucky, when you feel drained and just stagnant and meh. I love that word, meh.
Yeah, meh.
So
it is.
So
that's the only way I can describe, like, people like, how do you explain? It's like meh. I feel meh. You know?
Yeah. So with that, I'm going to ask if you have any final thoughts.
I reckon it's been amazing.
Okay,
Been
cool.
amazing today.
I really enjoyed this, and we'll do more of these. And I look forward to I look forward to the surprise element of really not knowing what we're going to talk about until we go ahead and dig in.
I think that's where the best stuff. Like, I think, and this is something I'll end on this. If you notice, when you're scrolling through, as you become more advanced or more aware, you start to be able to really read those scripts, like in whether it's in vocalizations or whatever, but you become really aware of the ones who are reading a script. Yeah, it's not their own take, if you will, on something. So they haven't studied it, and then they're just saying it how they see it. Someone said, here, if you do this, you're going to make $10,000 in a month, right? So it's becoming quite obvious to anyone with a little bit of education that we'll just scroll past them, because we've heard it 1,000 or more times. Like, we're just like, like whatever. So for me, I think people now, especially in the spiritual community, they really want to see what's raw and real. So rather than, yes, we can have our main, our base structured, if you will, topics, but as we're growing and advancing through this information that we're grasping, I believe that sometimes it's more beneficial to have no said topic and just see where it goes. And that's really raw and it's really real. And so people can resonate with that, because, when you're sitting at home, there's no script. You're sitting there and you're like, what the is going on here? Like, how come I feel like this today? And you'll navigate through it. You'll work it out, and you're like, light bulb moment. Oh, wow. So it's the same with us. When we get on here and maybe there's no script as per se, there's still this light bulb moments or aha moments, whatever you want to call them, in our conversation, where people go, oh, that just blew my mind. Fuck. Oh my God, there's the answer I was looking for. And so that's, to me, that's where I'm going with the, like I said, like every Sunday at 11:11, I'll be doing a live. I said that, the base is, we're going to do some meditation. We might do a reading with the cards and we might do maybe some artwork or something like that. But to be honest, it'll be just jump on at 11:11 and see what comes out, because that's where I think that flow state is that acting in the now. So if you're in the now, how can you script it? You can't, right?
Yeah.
You really can't. So yeah, but we'll leave it on that one.
Awesome.
I reckon.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I enjoyed the conversation
Super
as
grateful.
usual. And we'll do more of these for sure.
We will.
And
definitely.
Namaste.
Namaste. Peace, love, health, joy, and harmony. Bye for now.
Ciao for now.
Ciao.